Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is Unique.Builder coming with February 2018 Banlist update to Fluffals. Um, Originally, I kind of had it like a turbo deck where normally you want to try to OTK whenever you get the opening, or you bait them out with Fright for Kraken or Fright for Tiger. But seeing the new ban list and all the stuff that they tried to put in terms of control or spot removal in a way, um, I felt like the deck kind of needed to slow down just a little bit in order to still keep solid moves in, and in order to kind of fight back against the traps that are present now. So I'm going to get started going through each of my cards. A couple things that weren't as helpful. Um, so we're going to start with the main. It's going to be 3 dogs. This, I'm pretty sure it will never change. 2 penguins. I still haven't put it to 3. I have had no reason to, really. Bear. I actually ended up sighting out one of the bears in a game against pendulums, just because that game was going a little bit too fast. And usually, if I use Foolish Barrel of Goods, I didn't use the second bear anyways. Um, and if I really had to, I would have to do a loop and try to find a way to get rabbit to my hand and fuse and get bear back, use the effect for bear. But it just never came up. So I actually did side one of these out in the tournament, and it didn't cost me the game. It actually had no repercussions at all. This is one of the changes that I did make from the previous list. I used to run 2 owls instead of just the one, but like I said, like I'm not trying to turbo so much as just make solid moves. So one owl actually gets the job done pretty well. 2 wings. Normally you can really only get one. Um, During certain games, you might be able to get the second one off. 1 rabbit. Again, it's just to dodge strikes and things like that, as well as retaining your resources. So that's it for the Fluffles. Next, we'll move on to the Frightfurs. 3 Frightfur, 3 Edgemp chains. So this I also have yet to bring it down at all. It just seems too useful. Actually, during the tournament of one of the Pendulum Magicians, I believe it was game 3. I was actually controlling him so much that I had one chain, and it was literally just Edgemp chain beatdown. You normal summon him, you attack, and then you search for another Edgemp chain. On the first attack, he actually Ash Blossom, but he has no board, so it didn't matter. So basically, I'd attack, and then I'd search for another one, and the next turn after that, I'd normal summon and attack, search for the third one, and then I just kept beating down and controlling him with just the chains. That was actually pretty funny, because he's only a 1200 attacker, so it was actually pretty cool that I was able to control him that much, to the point where it was just a little level 4 chain beatdown. Um, and if he still had plays, I still had an extra deck that I could rank 4, because they're 4s. Um, 1 sabers. I actually cited the one of out one game. Again, it didn't cost me the game. It was just something that I tried to see if the deck can still get through, since I still run King of the Swamp. Speaking of, I still run 2 of these. I didn't really miss the 3rd one, but I might end up putting it back in just to make sure I can have a polymerization in hand whenever I need it. But I did get by with just 2. 1 Goblinberg. I took out the second one just because I'm trying not to turbo so much and be such a big target for things like Ash and whatever else control decks can be maining right now. 1 Bulb. This I'm pretty much always going to run because having access to Beast in Pendulum Magician against Pendulum Magician is actually pretty good. I'll explain to you later why this one's actually upside down. So that was it for the monsters. Next for the spells, we have 3 toy vendors. Again, usually turn 1, turn 2, you're already out of vendors, so I wouldn't cut them down. That's just less that you have to play with at that point. Fusion deck, so 3 polymerization. 2 Foolish Burial of Goods to send the toy vendor and just kind of start your plays off. 2 Twin Twisters. So this, it was actually it was pretty good for the decks that had a bit of back row, or even Pendulum Magicians turn 1. I mean game 1. It was pretty good just to set and pop their scales. They actually came in pretty handy. I wouldn't cut these. There was one game where I had to side both of them out, but it was just one game. Still 1 Fright for Fusion and 1 Fright for Factory. Again, nothing has really changed with that. 1 Scapegoat. If they end up doing a Baguska play, you can chain Scapegoat. Doesn't really matter if they go to, because they're summoning defense anyways. And on your turn, you're basically just going to link. Links can't go to defense, so it really doesn't matter. You'll just summon a big link monster and beat over Baguska, because they only go into it when it's basically like a last desperate attempt. So 1 Instant Fusion. So Instant Fusion, I cut it down to 1, kind of slowing the deck down a little bit, but it does help in a way, because I still have the 1 to look forward to if I do need to turbo, because I actually OTK'd with just the 1 copy that I drew into with Wings vendor combo. So it got me through the game. I OTK'd him. 1 Monster Reborn, just because it's legal, and if they get past one of your fusions, like, just summon it back and fuse with it. Really, it's too good. So 1 play you can actually do is summon Tiger, and it's either gonna bait them or blow them away. If it does get rid of one of their negates, one of their back row, you can Monster Reborn it back and just fuse off and keep beating them down. So there's 1 of that, and the last spell is 1 Raigeki. I did take Dark Hole out. Dark Hole was actually in there in the last build, just because there was a couple times where I actually wanted to clear my extra monster zone, so I can go into like a rank 4 play or something that would save the game. But in this build, I just saw Raigeki as like the better option. I might end up citing the Dark Hole. So I actually do run traps in this build. 3 strikes, 1 warning, and 1 solemn judgment. This is what helped me control so many players, as well as beat them down with the Fluffal engine. These are actually too good. Again, this is upside down. So let me just go through and get all of Alright, so I believe they're still, yeah. So these are basically cards that I ended up siding out pretty much every game. If not like every other game. They're good if you get them at the right time, but you're not trying to turbo with this. This is the same idea basically. It's basically like a Fright for Turbo. This is more like a Link Turbo. So basically you can go this into dog and then summon dog, get dog search. But I didn't want to risk running into negate, so I just figured I'd just cut this at some point. And this strike, it was actually just because it was good to negate, but running into so many negates kind of cuts down on what Fluffals are trying to do. So these are probably the 3 cards that I would cut out of the main. In terms of putting something in, I would probably end up doing 1 sheep, 1 king, and I'm not sure, but I might do a dark hole or a Fluffal owl, but I'm not sure about which one. If anything, I might do owl just to get the extra name and side the dark hole. So that's it for the main deck. For the side, I mean not the side, the extra deck, I'm still running. Actually, I changed that. I used to run 2 sheeps, but sheep was basically just instant fusion, and then I still had another target to search. But since I'm not using instant fusion as often, it's usually either fuse into it or instant fusion into it. Usually you don't get both. 1 tiger. Again, you can bait your opponent with it, or you can just blow them out. It's one or the other. It's usually how it goes. Fight for Kraken actually helps you get past some pretty good boards. There was actually 1 game against my game 1, which was Dark Magicians. So with the Dark Magicians, it was a couple turns in. I had 1 Fluffal monster on board, which I believe was dog, and I had 1 toy vendor. And his board, he had 2 Dark Magicians, he had Apprentice, Illusion Magician, the Dark Magician fusion that takes the name of Dark Magician, and then he had Eternal Soul face up. And just to add insult to injury, after he beat over sheep twice, he actually stole it with Monster Reborn in main phase 2, and he passed turn. So I'm sitting there and I got wings engrave, so I banished the wings for the effect, pop toy vendor, draw 2, search, and I end up summoning Kraken. After Kraken is on board, he has no response to it, so I'll target the sheep, send it to grave, and then in that same main phase, I fuse into Sabertooth, and then I'll target the sheep and summon it. And then from there, since whenever he declares, the opponent can't respond, I attacked into his fusion monster, and it would be destroyed, effect, summon it back. So now it's at 32, because he gains 800 for his own effect of coming back and 400 for this, with a base of 2,000. So he's a 3,200 beating over the 3K, and he just has to take it. After I destroyed that and got it off the board, I activated Twin Twister for my hand, discarded the last card, which I believe was a Solemn Judgment at the time, and I popped his Eternal Soul. The rest of his board went away, and I just swung 28 directly. So it actually, Kraken can actually get you through some pretty strong boards, because without him, I probably would have lost that game. Sabertooth, I actually still run 2 of them. It's pretty good. Not really trying to turbo, so unless I know for a fact that I have game, I'm not going to summon both of these in the same turn. That's it for the fusions. Synchros is just one nature a beast. Alright, so onto the exceeds. I run into Kestel. I threw this in. I actually really don't like this card. I feel like it's really annoying. It's basically meant to stun everything but Lynx, and I just don't like that. But I threw it in just in case. I made it one time, and I didn't even have to. 1 Utopia and Lightning. That's actually it for the exceeds. It's not too big of a lineup. For the scapegoat, I actually run 2 Link Spiders and double Mrs. Radiant. So basically when you scapegoat, you'll just go Mrs. Radiant and then 2 Link Spiders under the 2 arrows, and then that'll let you summon Borreload, which actually he does some pretty good work. Other than that, you have a spare Mrs. Radiant. Usually in this type of deck, you barely summon the second Mrs. Radiant. So basically, there was actually one game where I was struggling just to get through because I couldn't get wings in the graveyard, and by the time the opponent sent it to grave, like, it was already pretty late game. I ended up drawing kind of just the right cards to squeeze through, but I'm probably going to switch Proxy for Mrs. Radiant since it's a generic link too. So I can use wings and any other monster to link up. So that's probably going to come out. One of them is going to come out for a Proxy. That's it for the extra. Onto the side. It's 2DD Crow. I cited this in once and didn't see it. I don't even know if it's useful in this type of build. Actually, I did side crows in, and I used them against dinos. I banished the Miscellaneousaurus, but of course he had the spell card in hand, where basically you can banish a dinosaur and a non-dinosaur and just summon the big 35 beater from the deck, ignoring summoning conditions, which is actually extremely annoying. I feel like that card needs to get hit because it's just too strong and too easy to summon. The fact that they can just run 3 and run over everything is very stupid. But the second card is 2 Veilers. I just figured I'd try it because there's a lot of field effects. You can use it against the electrumite, which is it's okay, I guess, but it's really not that great. 1 Lava Golem and 1 Sphere Mode. My opponent has never ended with 3 monsters on board, so I wasn't even able to use this. So I might just take it out, put something else in, which is probably going to be the Dark Hole at some point. But yeah, that's probably going to be a Dark Hole. Lava Golem, I actually treat it like basically a Kaiju. So if you run Kaijus, I figured why not run Lava Golem, where a Kaiju is a 1-for-1, Lava Golem is a 2-for-1, and it burns for 1,000 as soon as they start their turn. So that's the way I see it. That's just my views on that matter. Spell Shattering Arrows, it comes in clutch against Pendulum Magicians. It was too good. It even worked against Dark Magicians. I cited 2 in for Dark Magicians, and whenever he activated the magical circle, I would basically chain, and it would pop it and burn. Against Pendulum Magicians, as soon as they activate the second scale, you chain this, pop both. It's basically a free Twin Twister that burns them for 1,000. So I figure why not run it. Next is 3 barriers. I actually got these recently. That's the only reason I didn't run them in the last build. But this is actually, like, they're pretty good. If they're trying to summon a Link monster, the way that I used it against Pendulum Magicians was with against, I forgot his name, the one that summons from the hand after a field card is popped on the field. So basically, he revealed for effect, activate Dimensional Barrier, and it'll just stay in hand because it can't resolve, since Pendulum monsters can't be summoned. So it was pretty good. And the last 2 cards is Storming Air Force. This is if I face a deck that can out aggro me, I'll side these in. Actually, I misplayed siding against dinos because I put in D barriers, since I didn't like their calamities. I didn't like the Evo card, the Evilsar Dolka and Logia and all of them. I didn't like them, so I put in D barriers, but now that I sided them in, he actually didn't exceed summon even once. So these were actually the better option to side against them. But in like things that I cut out, I actually cut 3 from the extra deck, and from the main, I actually ended up taking out all of these. I don't know if you can see them. I took out all of these. For the side, I feel like I should put this in because I noticed that there was actually one control player in the tournament, Altergeist. So I might actually have to find some space for the Twin Twister and the extra in the side deck. So I'll let you guys know. I was supposed to do the test hands to show you how the deck kind of ran. But literally as soon as I made the last video and posted it, the ban list came out like soon after that, and it was kind of annoying actually. But nothing I could really do about it. So I figured I'd bring you guys an update of what I'm playing. This is not final. This is actually basically just a rough draft. I'm still working on it. Hopefully I'll be able to get first place next time. Oh, I guess I didn't tell you guys, but yesterday, Friday, I got into a tournament. I believe it was like a 18 to 20 person tournament, and again I came in second place. 4 rounds were Dark Magicians, Magician Pendulums, which it had Ash Blossoms and it had the Electrumite. So they were pretty up to date in terms of what they needed. But their boards really weren't as strong as they used to be. So it was actually pretty easy getting past those. The second Pendulum Magician player was the same. He had the Electrumites, he had the Ash Blossoms, but I still got past it. And this is actually a relatively budget build. Everything is cheap except for this. aside from that, game 4 was dinos. I actually got him to, I believe, um, I got him down to like 1200 or something like that. But he was able to summon a third copy of their boss, and I just didn't have the resources to deal with a third one. He ended up just flipping my stuff face down and sending it all to grave and attacking directly for game. So he actually got me in that one pretty easily just because I couldn't get rid of his boss. That's actually the deck that I struggle with the most. And it's just because of that one card. Everything else that they summon, the calamities, the Dolka and all that, I can get past it. It's always just that one card that I can't deal with for some reason. But that has been my Fluffle deck. If you like the build, let me know. Anything I should change or swap out, just send me a message in the comments and I'll read it. I read all of the messages that I get down in the comments. So any thoughts, let me know.